What's poppin', yo? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're taking a look at another film review. I've noticed an issue with my film reviews, show reviews and anime reviews, and I am trying to rectify that. With anime and show reviews, I have been taking a look at the series as a whole instead of season by season, where I can take a deeper look and more in-depth thing. So if you see a series review, it'll be on a certain season. And with film reviews, I've been trying to bash them out in like 2 minutes, saying CGI is good, voice acting's good, acting's good, and not really explaining why or how or going into the story. But here is Antman Quantumania. I know a lot of TikTok film reviewers do it in like 3 minutes, but I want to talk more about the film itself. So here is Antman Quantumania. This was produced in like lockdown, so I understand if the animation, if the CGI is a little lacking, because I understand that they did it in lockdown. That's understandable. They don't have all the sort of. Everyone criticizes this film for the CGI and the acting and the villain. And with the villain getting bodied by a bunch of ants at the end, as like one of the main things that takes you down. Fair enough, Kang is supposed to be the big bad, but I don't think that this Kang in particular is supposed to be the big bad. I think this is just one of the Kang variants. That's why he got bodied by a bunch of ants. I'm not trying to defend this Kang, but I do believe it's going to be a different Kang that does end up being the big bad of this sort of wave of Marvel movies. I don't know what to call it, this saga of Marvel movies, the multiversal saga, I do believe it's called. But yeah, the conflict with Ant-Man and Kang, this wasn't very high stakes. I don't know. This film was pretty much a mess from the start, and that's because they had so many reshoots, they changed it at the last minute, they had so many rewrites and so much to alter in the film that they really sort of didn't know what they were doing with it at some points, and that sort of shows in the movie, because I didn't really understand some parts. It is an Ant-Man movie, so it's supposed to be upbeat and like funny, because that's what Ant-Man has been. And his trilogy of movies progressively got worse. Ant-Man 1 was amazing. I loved that. Ant-Man 2, it was okay. I still like Ant-Man. Ant-Man 3, I thought it was a little better than 2, if I'm going to be honest. I thought it was a little better than 2. But Ant-Man is one of the heroes that actually got me into Marvel movies. It was Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man that actually made me want to go and get started in the MCU. Because I thought Captain America was cool. I didn't like the Thor movies. I didn't like the Iron Man movies. I didn't like the Hulk movie. So Ant-Man does have a special place to me because he's the one that got me into Marvel movies. Same with the Guardians. They have a special place because they introduced me to Marvel. So having this movie not be like as good as the Guardians one was a little upsetting, because I do believe this is the final in the Ant-Man trilogy. But some of the other biggest complaints with this fucking monstrosity here of MODOK, this is what MODOK would look like. Everyone called it a monstrosity, called it ugly, but this is what MODOK should look like. This is MODOK. He is a big head. I don't understand why people got so upset with how he looks. This is how he would look like. He is a big head in a chair. The CGI for it was pretty off at some points. It just looked weird. Just the way they enlarged his head, it sort of looked a little fuzzy and blurry. I don't know. You know when like you enlarge an image and it goes blurry? Sort of like that. I don't know why it did that in some points of the film. But that's just what I felt like happened. I don't know if my eyes were deceiving me, but it did look a little off. But that's understandable. They were doing all the CGI in lockdown. Most of it was good. It was more of the backgrounds and the backdrops that were sort of off. Because they did film all this on a green screen and they wasn't really looking into anything. It was just one big green screen for most of the film. It's very hard to act when there's nothing to act around. There's nothing to interact with. It's just you staring into the distance. Sometimes you saw that, but sometimes you didn't. And Marvel movies are majority green screen anyway, so I would have thought the actors got a little bit more used to this. But for doing it for a whole movie, I can understand the pain of Paul Rudd and the rest of the actors here struggling with this. The actors did an amazing job. They're good at acting. Paul Rudd is an amazing actor. They have also been very inconsistent with Cassie Lang, changing her actress each movie. Like Ant-Man 1 and 2, she was the same. Ant-Man, no, and then in Infinity War, she was different, and then she, obviously because of the time skip, and then she's different again here. This just causes a lot of sort of confusion with who Cassie Lang actually is and why she keeps changing. But again, Rhodey did change in Iron Man, so it isn't the first time we've had an actor being replaced. The stakes were all about Cassie and how Kang was holding her, so then Ant-Man would do what he wanted. But it was only Kang getting out of the quantum realm, which they didn't want to happen because obviously how destructive he was and why he was put in the quantum realm to begin with. But Wasp's mum, I forgot her name, kept a lot of secrets from the quantum realm, and they tried to give her this alternate life of being a sort of rebel in the quantum realm standing up to Kang, and I wasn't really interested in that story, and it didn't really add much. It just added a sort of Bill Murray sort of scene to the film, which wasn't really needed because it was just them getting captured by Bill Murray. But they wasn't really captured because they escaped on his ship. So it was literally just them getting a ship out of that scene. I don't know. I thought it was mid. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was good. It was an okay film. I think everyone's hating on it a little too much. The Ant-Man scene was really cool. I liked how those multiple Ant-Mans, how they all came together, and it was actually the Wasp who sort of pulled him out and sort of saved him. I thought that was a little bit romantic. That was a little cool. Being, oh, they love each other. They saved each other. They're their own homing beacons and stuff like that. There was some element of seriousness to it, and there was some bloody fights to it, and I liked that. Ant-Man sacrificing himself was awesome, and gave for a good sort of plot to it. Gave some sort of emotion there. After not really feeling much for these characters, because the only one I really liked was Ant-Man, and the only one they really built up was Ant-Man, and maybe the Wasp, but Wasp wasn't in it as much, and she felt different to how she was in the other film. She felt a little, I don't know, they sort of changed how her character acts, and that usually happens with sequels. They either make the characters more goofy, they make them more, they just change them slight ways to sort of fit the more story, and I didn't really like how they changed her. She felt a lot more whiny, if that makes sense, complaining at her mum more. She didn't really, I don't know how to explain it in a way that's accurate. But the suits looked really good. I liked Cassie's suit. I liked the purple. I thought it was a nice change from the yellow and black and the red and black. The purple and black looked really cool. I liked that. And I do wish we did get it in Lego because it does look really cool. It was nice. I liked the final battle. Some of the aliens, they did try and replicate Korg in there with some of the aliens. There was a lot of hole jokes, which I thought was overdone a little bit towards the end. There were good jokes to start with, but towards the end it was just overdone. And I wasn't really laughing at them anymore. It was just okay, another hole joke. The goo scene was a little awkward as well. That just felt awkward with them making him drink the goo. It's just the ooze, as they called it, which just flows off the tongue. But yeah, they did try and replicate Korg, and sort of his dynamic in the quantum realm. I didn't really like that, how they tried to replicate what Thor did and try and copy that. The quantum realm sort of residents didn't really matter, if that makes sense. They're not going to be in a future film. They're here just for one film. They didn't really, the film didn't make you care for them enough before the fight started happening and how everything sort of unfolded. The film its pacing was really weird. Like, it went really quick in places and then slowed down a lot in some places, just to, like, drag it out. It sort of felt, it sort of felt rushed, and then really sort of time was taken in some areas, and they really cared for it. I really think if there wasn't that many cuts, reshoots, and stuff like that, it would have been a good movie, because it did look like in some places they did take their time, they did think it through, and they did try and make it a good movie. But then, obviously, shit happened, something at Marvel went off, and they had to reshoot and rearrange everything to make a different ending, a different story, because Wasp and Ant-Man was supposed to be stuck in the quantum realm, and they wasn't. They managed to get out, so Film Theory did a really good episode on it, so I do recommend you go check out that, just to get a better explanation on it. But the fight scene was really good. Obviously, it's a big fight scene. It's all CGI. No one was really actually there doing much. There was no actual thing to be done there. But I think the actors did their best they could with being surrounded by just green and not having much to go off and interact with. Because I can feel their pain, just trying to act with nothing to see, just being in the green area and being told what's allegedly happening around you. It's just, I can imagine how hard it is for them. For that, I'm going to give the actors score, like, they did really good for what little they had. The CGI was decent. It's not terrible, but it was done in lockdown and COVID time, so I do understand why it isn't top quality. And Marvel animators, CGIers, are being overworked, so that also plays into it. And I'm not saying it's the worst Marvel movie. It is not the worst. It is not the worst by far. It may be the worst rated, but it's not the worst by far. I'm giving it a solid 5. It's sort of mid-ground. I know a lot of films that are a lot worse than it in the MCU, and I know a lot of films that are better than it in the MCU. So I'm going to give it a mid-ground. I don't think it deserves all the hate that it's getting. I still think it's a good story. Even me and Lol had a little disagreement. I thought it was okay. She thought it was terrible. And, I think it's alright. Ant-Man, I'm not sure if I'm biased towards Ant-Man, because Paul Rudd is a really good actor and he's one of my favourite actors, and Ant-Man is one of my favourite characters that got me into Marvel, so I could be biased, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone's saying. I think it's a decent 5 out of 10. Mid-ground, it is mid, but it could be better, it could be worse. Give it the mid-ground. The story, I thought the story was pretty easy to follow. It wasn't too complex, it wasn't too sort of hard. They sort of managed to deal with the two separate groups pretty well and what they were doing at the same time, because we had Cassie and Ant-Man, and then we had Hope, and then Mr. and Mrs. Van Dyne, in two groups going through the quantum realm, trying to find each other. They managed that pretty well. They managed the two groups well, which not a lot of films managed to do. And they did come together, and then they split up again, and then they came back together again. So it did well with the groups. CGI, it was okay. I do wish the film wasn't cut and spliced together like Rocket, like they ripped it apart and put it back together over and over and over to try and make something good out of it, and try and change it to Kevin Feige's liking. But it deserves a 5 out of 10. It's not as bad as everyone's saying. It's a decent film, and I quite like it. So, other than that, hope you enjoyed. See you all next one. Have a nice day, and goodbye. Let me know if you want me to review any other films, and I'll get onto that straight away. Alright, bye-bye.